part of the security fence guarded by soldiers. I'd caught a glimpse of them a few times as they opened the gate to let in trucks bringing supplies. Their forest green berets marked them as elite commandos. I didn't look in their direction anymore. They might think I was planning an escape, which might not be a bad idea if I knew where to go. I quickened my pace as I passed the stone pillars that once had marked the entrance to the grounds. I could see the old metal sign that had greeted visitors. It was rusted and pitted by age, but still clear enough to announce what this place was. St. Albans Pauper Lunatic Asylum. I was sure I'd been here before. I hadn't seen the sign back then, but I'd driven through a back entrance to visit a British major. I hadn't stayed long, but I knew this was the same joint, except everything was different. Maybe because they'd let me leave that last time. So, I know I'm at St. Albans. About an hour outside of London, if I remember correctly. Not that my memory's all that good right now. I do know I'm not a pauper, but there are some strange people here, and the place is surrounded by barbed wire and guards, so I guess it is some sort of asylum. Lunatic. As I walked the path, I eyed the other residents. Or patients, probably. I tried not to make eye contact, not being up for a friendly chat. I saw the whistling man, an American who strolled the circuit regularly as he whistled a tune. The same tune, all the time. We passed each other, his eyes focused straight ahead and a little toward the sky, as if he were waiting for angels to swoop down and take him away. I came to a Brit sitting on a bench. His wool cap was pulled down, covering his eyes. His arms were crossed and his legs jittered, boot heels keeping time. I'd seen him around. He was one of the mutes. Never spoke. There were a few of them here, all wearing the British battle dress uniform. But that was all I could tell about them. Everyone was in uniform, but the rule at St. Albans was no rank or unit patches, no identification except for the color of your uniform. Last names only. It made sense in a way. If the place was full of lunatics, it wouldn't do for a crazy colonel to start issuing orders to loony lieutenants. I picked up the pace as the path took me closer to the south wing. That was the medical area where people wore pajamas, bandages, and casts. They spent their time in bed, rolling around in wheelchairs or limping about on crutches. I hadn't run into any mutes or whistlers among them. But I hadn't been in the south wing in a couple of days. I couldn't handle seeing Kaz. Lieutenant Pyotr Augustus Kazimierz, that is. Kaz and I worked together. We had some trouble in Paris and ended up here. I'm walking around and he's not. Bad heart. Really bad. My brain is sort of scrambled, but his ticker is shaky. He always had some sort of problem with it, which is why he ended up as a translator working in General Eisenhower's headquarters. Kazs had been given a commission in the Polish armed forces based on his brains, not his brawn. But he'd built himself up, strengthening his body and using his brilliant mind as part of Ike's Office of Special Investigations. Until Paris. Everything had fallen apart in Paris. Kaz's heart, my mind, and, well, something else. I can't think about that now. I pressed on, head down, not looking at the medical ward windows for fear I'd see Kaz looking at me, wondering, worried about his future and my sanity. I didn't want to think about that either, or that other thing clawing at the edges of my mind. I walked faster, staring at the facade of the main hall now that I turned the corner. A few faces gazed out at me from the offices at the front of the massive building. Bored typists, doctors in their white coats, a few uniformed honchos, Yanks and Brits who gave the orders around here. I made for the entrance, glancing up at the tall clock tower dead center. 10 minutes of 5. But that time was only right twice a day. The thing was busted. I stopped, uncertain if I wanted to go inside or take another tour of the estate. I stood there, rooted to the spot, paralyzed by the simple task of deciding if I wanted to go indoors. This sort of thing was happening all the time, and I didn't like it much. Like I said, something was wrong.